Good morning, everyone. Yesterday we had started with unit number 2, that is technical writing, and the first topic that we dealt with was technical description. Right? I've already updated the sample in the Google folder. You can have a look at it, and you have time till Saturday to submit your technical description of any equipment or any process that you have selected. So now today we're going to start with the second portion of technical writing, which is very important, is technical proposal. Can we have the opening remarks, please?
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Yes, good morning, Hemang.
Good morning. In today's lecture, we are learning about the technical proposal. It is a document that is a sort of application of establishing new venture and add in the already established organization. We are also discuss the format, structure, and the need of technical proposal in an organization.
Thank you, Hemang. Thank you for the opening remarks. So technical proposal is a document which is written, and it either works for an already established organization or something that you want to establish. Right? So it's an offer by one party to provide a product or a service to another party in exchange for money. Proposals are written to offer solutions for problems or to undertake a project which might be of a practical nature or a theoretical nature. It is also like a sales presentation seeking to persuade the reader to accept the written plan for accomplishing a task. Now, what is a proposal? Let's say I want to set up a new laboratory in the campus. Right? Randomly, I cannot go and say or ask Dean sir, because our subject requires a language lab, I want it. And it cannot happen in 2 days. What do I have to do? I have to give them a proposal. So there are different parts and structures. I have to tell them that due to the requirement of this subject, we require a lab. Now there can be a lot of lab setups. So what kind of a setup do I need? So again, as I said, when we write, we need to be very specific. Right? In technical description also we were specific. So in proposal also we are supposed to be specific. Whatever is written has to be specific. So maybe I want a lab with 20 computers, or maybe I want a lab which has a science experiment setup kind of a lab. Or maybe after, okay, fine, we have a computer lab. Then will the computer work on its own? No, it will not work on its own. So I need certain softwares for my subject. Can we get that installed? So being very specific. It could be a project, it could be a practical demonstration, it could be something new in an already established organization, or it could be something entirely new. Right? Why? We should always know the why part. Why do we need to write a proposal? So there are different reasons for it. First reason is to solve a problem. Let's say you are being taught C language. With the help of the language, you create some program which solves a problem. Right? To alter a procedure. Alter means to make or bring a significant change in some procedure which has been happening. Let's take the current scenario. We have been learning language, we have been learning mathematics on the board or in the classroom. Now what are we doing? We are altering it. We have made a change in it. Right? Finding answers to questions. To find answers to questions. So can this be done in way number 1? So let's find out. To offer advice and training, to conduct research on the topic of interest to both the parties. As I said, if we don't do research, things die. They become stagnant. They don't move forward. Research makes things move forward. Had there not been research, we would have still been in the Stone Age. Right? So To conduct research, you can have a proposal. Now, there are different types of proposal. The two major types are sales proposal and research proposal. Let me first talk to you about research proposal. Research proposal is academic in nature. It happens in the academic setup and it is solicited. By solicited, I mean that it is in response to a specific problem that has been offered by the sponsor. Let's say a hackathon, right? Most of you would have heard of it. Some of you would have also participated in it, right? So in hackathon, you were already given a problem that you had to solve. That also academically, that is one way of doing proposal, or it is a kind of research proposal. Then you have the business proposal, which is of our interest as per the topic in our syllabus. There are two types, solicited and unsolicited. Solicited, the problem is already stated to you, right? The way in the hackathon it is specified that you have to solve this problem, right? So similarly in the business also it is stated to you that you have to solve this thing. Let's say with this unseen pandemic situation coming, we were not prepared to teach online, right? Somebody drafted a proposal that, sir, education should not stop. So what can we do? So they will propose. Propose means they will tell. So there should be solution 1, solution 2. How can we make it feasible? Who will connect between the student and the teacher? Things like that. In case of an unsolicited proposal, it's a new innovative idea from your side. It's a new innovative idea from a person's side. Solicited is where you are already given a problem statement. Unsolicited is where you have an idea that, okay, this is what I feel is a problem and I have an idea to solve it. Right? That's the difference between the two. In solicited, you have the problem statement with you, whereas unsolicited, it's a new or an innovative idea that you have that you want to give to the world to make their living more comfortable, right? In unsolicited, you can have this beautiful example of the advertisement that you see in C for Byju's, the learning app. Now there's a simple mathematical formula which says a square plus b square is equal to c square. Now they have an innovative way of teaching or innovative way of explaining this formula, right? So that's what we call an unsolicited proposal. Now what are the characteristics of a proposal? It actually should tell you what your needs are and how will your needs be fulfilled. Let's say I am in a organization, in an educational organization, and I say that, see sir, we need to teach few subjects. What will we do? Let's say I want to teach mathematics. I cannot just talk and teach. I need to write something. How do we do that? That's my problem statement. Then somebody will come. If we have this you can have a notepad which can be projected to the students and you can write as if you are writing on the blackboard. That's solution number 1. So the need of the organization is met up with the solution which is given. That is a characteristic of a good proposal. It is little more creative than other kinds of professional writings. Certain places you can be informal and they can be a personal approach in the style of writing. Now, most of the times what we see is we are supposed to see the customers or that particular organization's convenience in mind. As all written work should look, it should be neat and attractive, and it should have all elements of the structure or as per the requirement. As I said, every structure which is given is a structure where most of the organization use it, but certain structures or certain elements of the structure can be there, cannot be there as per the requirement, right? You have to follow meticulously the requirement of the solicitor or the person who has asked you to make it. If you are rejecting or if you are changing certain requirements, do not reject the idea entirely, but provide suggestions. Whatever has been written should be clear, concise, and direct. You cannot say, because I did not mention this because I thought you will understand. You are supposed to write the proposal as if the person does not understand anything from the ground level. Even the smallest of the thing which we feel that, okay, I can avoid this. This is understandable. The person will understand. No, we are not supposed to do that. Because it is a written document, it becomes concrete. It will be there with the organization for years to come. So you cannot miss a single minute information on that paper. So we need to be very clear about what you are writing. You need to be direct about writing, and you need to tell the minutest of the detail that is to be there in the proposal. Why? Because most of the time they are concerned with the future, upcoming projects, right? So understand, proposals are written for upcoming projects. So you cannot use the same things that you are using right now in the present or things that you have used in the past. That is why it is more creative in nature. So let's have a reconnecting question. Is the statement true or false? By it here we mean technical proposal, is more creative than other forms of professional writing. Okay, we've got a quick response from Gaurav. Others? Very good. You all have answered this statement correctly. Gaurav, you need to just read the question once again. The statement is true, right? So I'll show you the slide where we have the statement which says, the very second point on our slide in the characteristics says you need to be more creative than other forms of professional writing. Why being more creative? Because you're supposed to make a proposal for a future usage. Something which is not there today but can be there in the future. That is why it is more creative in nature. Right? So the statement is true. So these are the elements of the structure of a proposal. If you think that there are a lot of parts, do not worry. It is like the order in which these parts have to be followed. So first you have the prefatory parts, then the main body of the proposal, and then the supplementary parts. Now this sub parts that you see, they are for your guidance. What do I write first? What will come second? We always have, when we have to write, what is the order, the chronology, which is very important. Right? So prefatory part is the part which comes before the main body of the proposal. It's like the introductory part, the introduction. Then you have the main bodies or the body of the proposal, which carries the main ideas of your proposal. And at the end, you will have the supplementary parts which act as the conclusion of the proposal. Right? So let's look at each part one by one. So first we'll study the sub parts of the prefatory parts of a technical proposal. So the first is the title page. So title should be very, very important, because the title reflects what will follow in the body of the proposal. So the name, what are the things that you see in the title page? See the title of the proposal, then the name of the person or the company to whom the proposal is submitted, the name of the person submitting the proposal, and the date. Now, remember why this thing should come first, because we should know who is submitting and to whom it is being submitted, and on which date exactly it is being submitted. No, because I said it is like planning the future. So if it is already executed and I have a wrong date on it, it means that the idea is not new. That's why the date, to specify that the idea is new. As I said, every organization has its own format. Maybe the font size is fixed, or maybe there is a title page which is given to you and you have to just fill in the blanks. But these are the things that would be surely there in any organization's proposal format. That is the title of the proposal. So we propose to set up a new language laboratory. The name of the person to whom you are submitted, or the company to whom you are submitting. I'm taking the example of our institute. So I'm submitting it to Dr. R.B. Jadeja, Dean, Marwadi University, Rajkot. The name of the person submitting the proposal, Dr. Pooja Shukla, Assistant Professor, Department of Communication Skills, Marwadi University, Rajkot. The date, let's say 14th July 2020. So I am proposing this for the upcoming batch. So first would be the title page with this 4 details. 1, title of the proposal. 2, the name of the person or the company to whom the proposal is submitted. 3, the name of the person submitting the proposal, and 4, the date. Next, the letter of transmittal. Now see, this letter of transmittal comes immediately after the title page. It is like a cover letter where briefly you will introduce the topic or what you are proposing and its purpose, little highlights of the proposal, and a small concluding section where you will motivate the person to respond positively to your proposal. That's called a letter of transmittal, right? It's just 1 A4 size page that you need to write. The topic and purpose, let's say language laboratory. So language lab is actually where we will have the students. The purpose would be so the students can practice practical aspects of theories that have been taught in the class. Why a laboratory? Because in the class of 60, it might not be possible for each and everybody to get a chance to practice practically. So a laboratory where we can split the class into smaller groups and everybody gets chance to speak or to practice the practical aspects of the theory of language that is taught to them, because language learning cannot happen without practice, right? The proposal highlights would be, we'll set up one of the best laboratories, language labs in the state, or maybe a unique feature that will be added to the university, etc. At the end, you can motivate the recipient by saying, we have done, or I have seen a few universities who have such language labs, and it has shown immense change in the language learning skills of the students, and I assure the same would happen with our students as well. So that's it. It's called the letter of transmittal, where you try to convince, you tell exactly why you require one lab, what's the purpose of it, the highlights of the proposal, and a little conclusion which will motivate the organization to respond positively to the proposal. Next, we have a draft contract. It is actually a rough draft where you have to mention. Now see, if I want to set up a language lab, let's take any university wants to set up a language lab. What will be the benefit if we take 1 year to set one language lab? Already 2 semesters will pass, right? And then every time the person has to take a follow-up. Where have you reached? Only one computer, why not the others? What is stopping you from doing? So a rough draft or a draft contract will actually have details. Details of many things. What are the details? 1, what would be the duration of this project? In how many days, how many months, how many years will you complete it? Then, in terms of finance, do you require a classroom? Do you have a specific classroom requirement or a lab requirement. Let's say if I want to make up or I want to set up a science experiment lab, and then I want to set up a language lab. The requirement for both the labs will be different, right? So for a science lab, I need somewhere which is little more airy, big windows in case some problem arises. Whereas a language lab, we are not going to set the lab on fire, right? We're going to work quietly on the computers. Each person would have a computer to access, a headphone to use, etc. That is why in this rough draft, it is a rough draft. Why? Because yet the proposal has not been accepted. There would be negotiation. They will say, no, this is too much. Why don't you cut out the expense, etc. So in the draft contract, what you need to do is you need to draft or maybe outline what are the things that you will require. Let's say it will take 2 months to, or maybe most of the time what we do is we give 15 days extra. So 2.5 months to set up the lab. If it is a language lab, we'll require 20 computers, 20 chairs, 20 CPUs, 20 headphones. Maybe we want to keep 1 or 2 computers and headphones on the standby. So on standby require 2 more, right? Then because it's a computer laboratory, we might require the lab to be in the or having an AC in the laboratory so that the computers remain cool. We require bandwidth, we require internet, right? So the requirements, and then the finance. So let's say we require computers of a particular brand or a particular company. So one computer would cost amount X. So 20 would cost, because you are buying in bulk. When you buy one, the amount is different, but when you buy in bulk, the amount is different. So you have to note 20 mouse, 20 mouse pad, whatever it is. The finance part also you are supposed to draft here. The table of content, it is actually similar to an index page in your book, right? So it 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, what's the order in which the proposal follows? That is a table of content all about. If the proposals are small or brief, we do not require a table of content, but if they are lengthy, then we will require. Then the list of tables and figures. In case you are required to put up graphics, as I said, graphics attract a lot. Even in our technical description, we have to put up a diagram so that the reader can understand better. Does not mean that it replaces words entirely. It's just more value added to the words that you have written. So this part, in case it is required. Let's say you have to build a language lab from scratch. From scratch, I mean you have to first have a room constructed. Then you want a particular arrangement of wiring, particular plug arrangement. Then you have to give a graphic, right? Not everywhere this is required, but places where it is inevitable to explain, list of tables and figures is required. Then you have an executive summary. The length of an executive summary would be ranging from somewhere 100 to 300 words, not more. It actually gives you a quick review of the entire proposal. It's something like what we did in school called précis writing. It should be 1/3 of your proposal. It should be a summary of what you are proposing in detail in the upcoming pages, right? It is actually there to create a positive impact. Not everybody would want to go through the entire proposal, but we want maximum positive responses, so people can go through the executive summary. So let's have a reconnecting question. Dash is not a prefatory part out of the 4 options given. Very good. The option is D, cost estimate. We have not yet come to that part. Title page, draft of contract and executive summary are a part of the prefatory portion of a proposal. cost estimate is not. Now we come to the second portion, that is the body of the proposal. So first thing in the body of the proposal that we need to write is the problem and the need. So we have to make a statement about the problem. A problem should be stated. So you can say that language learning happens better when we have practical or a more practice of the theoretical aspects that are being taught in the classroom. So the problem here, we need space, we need a different setup for practicing things of what we have already done. Right now we have, you should elaborate the existing facility which does not fulfill the need of your problem. That is, you should tell, okay, we already have a classroom where 60 students sit, that's the setup, but we just have a 60-minute lecture. So it's more than or very much less time, less than 1 minute for the student to speak. After even if I give an instruction, not all 60 would be able to speak. That's why we require a different setup. And you should explain here in a few lines that what benefits will you have with this research, the proposed research or the proposed setup. Right? So you can say that each student will be given individual opportunity to practice. The more you practice, the better you become. Right? If I do not, let's say, if I do not speak, how will my speaking skills improve? Similarly, if I do not write, how will my writing skills improve? So separate language lab setup would give them more practice hours which are required. Right? So there, in the very first part of the body of the proposal, you have to write the problem and the need to solve that problem. Now you have to give a little background. Background means you have to take something as your foundation. Let's say any experiment we are doing, we have something as a foundation. Let's say whoever thought of black holes took the foundation of the law of gravity by Newton. Whoever researched on black holes has taken as a foundation the law of gravity, the law of attraction, that's gravity, right? So what is the background for your research that you want to propose to the institute? There you have to show that few of the universities did it and the result was better. That is known as literature review. Literature review means you review different places where the same kind of work has been done, right? And you can say that, see, if they can do it, then also in our case we are 100% sure that it will work well. State the purpose very clearly. Let's say I've given an example here, to provide required training for newly employed graduates. Nowadays, even companies want you first, for the first 3 months is known as your training period. They want to train you for the equipments or the kind of equipments that they use in their organization, right? So state the purpose with an infinitive form, to provide, to give the students space for practice, to expose the students to methods that are used in different universities, etc. Then the scope. See, every project is not supposed to be of all-inclusive nature. One project and everything is solved. It is not like that. It is a research. So research would be to some extent. You cannot cover everything. So what is the scope? It actually defines the boundary of the project, and then you can have limitations. Let's say I have a very beautiful language lab that is set up, all computers of very good company, nice softwares installed, but student does not come up and speak. Maybe someday there is electricity failure. Maybe that one software cannot cover everything, right? So you have to define the scope and the limitations, because this project is limited to only this much usage. Let's say if we have a Language lab, we already have a language lab in our university. Now that language lab can only serve a little purpose. The purpose of making you practice, the purpose of making you speak whatever theories we have in our syllabus. Certain points it can cover certain points it can cover beyond the syllabus as well. But that does not mean that all kind of English is present there. Right? So for every software, even in your branches, when you do in computers, when you do or make softwares, it will have a limitation. To some extent it will work, it will solve, let's say it can solve 9 out of 10 problems. It cannot be always solving 10 out of 10. Right? So you have to always mention that, sir, these are the scopes, that there is one small limitation, which is this. Then the project team or the personnel. Now you have to talk about the team which is going to work on this project, including everybody. Everybody means one person would be the project leader, the other project members. Now I cannot say one project leader and 4 project members or team members. I have to specify. Let's say we have one team member or team leader. Then we have person number 1 whose expertise lies in developing softwares related to language. Person number 2, his expertise is in setting up the lab in a correct form where you have enough space for everybody. Third person, the arrangement is a civil engineer who will look after the structure, etc. Then the process in which you will do the sequence. So maybe the methods that you will use, the sources, the plan of attack, how will you work, and then the sequence of activities. You have to clearly phase it. So phase 1 will set up the physical lab. Phase number 2 will get the wiring done. Phase 3 will purchase the lab materials that are required in the lab. Phase 4 we will set the lab up, and phase 5 we will install the software. After installing the software, what will I do? I will do a check whether it's working or not. Right? Equipment, facilities, products, people, whatever is required is what you will add over here. Then the budget and cost estimate, it is mandatory. You cannot submit a proposal without a budget and a cost estimate. The budget, the institute will tell, right, this is my budget. Even if we are buying a small mobile phone, we have a budget. You don't just go and say, you show me everything you have in your showroom. You have something in mind. You have a certain specification in mind. Not only in terms of the equipment, but also in terms of money. You have it in mind. Okay, my budget is somewhere around 25,000. So not above that amount, within that amount. Right? So you have to give a budget and a cost estimate, an approximate value for the things that are required. Let's say, even if I'm doing the project, apart from the material, I have to pay the people as well. Right? The software developer will not develop the software free of cost. There's some amount to be paid. So mentioning every minute detail over here. And finally, a conclusion. Please remember, you do not introduce any new idea in the conclusion, and the conclusion is very, very brief. It could be just one small paragraph, at the maximum 2. But it is advisable only one small paragraph, where you have a final opportunity or a chance to re-emphasize and try and persuade the person to approve and give a positive response to your proposal. Conclusion actually means wrapping things up. So no new ideas there, nothing new. Whatever you have said, one more time you try to tell that, see, after looking at things, you must have got an idea about how beneficial it is for students and in today's world. And then something you can conclude to re-emphasize whatever you have said previously. So our reconnecting question number 3, dash is not an element of the body of proposal. In the body part, out of the 4, cost estimate, introduction, conclusion, and letter of transmittal, which is not the part? We've got three different answers: B, A, B. Okay, most of us have said that the answer is B. Let us see what is the answer. Remember, let me take you back to the letter of transmittal. Remember, the letter of transmittal comes in the prefatory part, right after the title. Right after the title of the proposal, you have a letter of transmittal which explains in very brief. It is like a précis. It should be almost only ranging from 100 to 300 words. Right? I hope you recollect. I can show you that. That's the title page in the prefatory part, and that's the letter of transmittal. So the letter of transmittal is the correct answer when we say it is not a part of the main body of a proposal. Right, so here the correct answer would be the letter of transmittal, which is actually a short summary or summarizing the entire proposal. When people don't want to go through, there are many people who don't want to go through the entire proposal. So this part is especially for them, so that we can get more positive response. Even if the person does not read the whole proposal, this letter of transmittal will work. It's like the way we do précis writing in school, 1/3 of the entire thing. So somewhere around 100 to 300 words. 100 to 300 words is what you have in letter of transmittal. And the supplementary parts, the appendices, supplementary parts in a proposal, they are optional to write. It's not necessary and they are not compulsory. Appendices, actually there are things that support your proposal, right? Without proof, how will I work that this idea that you have given is going to work? So you have to give some supporting material. So this is the supporting material. This is where you write the supporting material. So let's say University A has already got a very nice, we did work with University A and we have already set up a language lab there. So how do I know that University A has it? I have not visited University A. So you have a letter from there. You have certain photographs from there that you can attach over here. And then references. This is where you will list down your sources. There are different ways of listing your sources. For languages and sciences, there are different styles of doing it. It could be one of the styles is the MLA style, that is the Modern Language Association style. The other one is the APA. There's an IEEE style for the science writers. So it's actually the way you arrange your source, the name of the book which you referred, or the name of the research paper that you referred, etc., would come over here in the supplementary parts. So with this, the structure of proposal ends with the supplementary parts. Do we have any doubts? No doubts. Very good. Fine. So I'll just revise a structure of a proposal. Structure of a proposal is mainly divided into three parts: the prefatory part, the main body of the proposal, and the supplementary part. So this is actually the order in which proposals are written. Every organization has its own structure, but the elements that are mentioned in the structure that we have right now with us are common for all, right? So first we begin with the prefatory parts, the part that comes first. So there, the very first thing that you have is the title page. On the title page, you will have the title of the proposal. Then you will have the name of the person to whom the proposal is being submitted. Then the name of the person who is submitting the proposal. Then the date to authenticate the whole thing. Then you have the letter of transmittal. In the letter of transmittal, it is actually like a summary. or a précis or a small paragraph of the entire body part of the proposal. Then you have a rough contract or a draft contract where you roughly mention details. Then a table of content. If it is a brief or a very small proposal, you will not have a table of content. A table of content is actually like the index page of a textbook or any book that you take. It actually shows the sequence in which things will come. Then you can have list of figures and tables in case you want a diagram that you can mention over here. And then you have the executive summary. Now every time diagrams are not necessary, they cannot replace words. Diagrams are there to add value to your words. Diagrams cannot replace words entirely. Then you have an executive summary of 300 words. The executive summary summarizes the proposal. It is a brief version of the detailed proposal. It's a quick review. And it helps to re-emphasize the strength or the strong points of the proposal. Then we have the main body of the proposal where you have to talk about the problem and the need. What is the problem and why do we require a separate laboratory? Can't we do it in the classroom? No. Right? So why do you require it? That should be explained clearly. After that, you have to give a little background, literature review, or mentioning places which have already done the same or have worked on it. Then you have to clearly mention the purpose. Why are we having, or why do we need this? So it can to provide the students with more practice, to give an environment of practical English, etc. I'm mentioning the statements with respect to the example of setting up a language laboratory, English language laboratory in a university. Right? Your statement would be different as per the proposal that you put up. Then you have to give the scope and the limitations. Why every research cannot 100% fulfill and solve the problem. Even if you see the advertisements, they will say 98%, 99.9%, etc. Right? So what is the scope? How much does it cover? And what are the limitations? What it does not cover should be clearly mentioned. And then you also need details. Which details? One, detail about the team that is going to work. Two, detail about the equipments, facilities, and products that will be required. Three, details of the activities that you will do. Activities means whatever actions you are going to take. Action number 1, action number 2, action number 3, action number 4, whatever you are going to take in order that you need to mention. And then very important and mandatory in every technical proposal, that is the budget and the cost estimate. You cannot submit a proposal without the budget and the cost estimate. So you are supposed to talk about the budget and what approximately each item will cost or each product will cost, and then very nicely closing the proposal with a conclusion. Then you have the supplementary parts. You write the appendices or letters of support, documents of support that you have for your proposal over here, and then a list of sources that you have used. Right? So now, as we don't have any question and answers, and we have already recollected what we have learned, it's time for our quiz. I've already sent the quiz link. You can access and start your quiz now. You have 5 minutes for your quiz. So just a few of you are still remaining. I can see 48 responses. We still have 2 minutes for the quiz. Let's quickly finish it. Very good. All of us have completed the quiz. Now it's time for our attendance. I'll be marking your attendance. So enrollment number 2, 5, 8. Enrollment number 8, Zuzar. 9, 10, 12, 16, 17, 19, 24, 25, 26, 29, 31, 34, 35, 38,
Yes, ma'am.
40. Okay, I think we had reached till enrollment number 50. Anjan is present. 51. 53. 54. 6. 68, 65, 67, 68, 69, 72, 73, 82, 85, 89, 91, 96, 100, 101, 102, 103, 106, 108, 117, 118,
Yes, ma'am.
119, 120, 121, 125,
Yes, ma'am.
126, 131, 134, and 144. The absent person, there's only one person who's absent today, and the absent number is enrollment number 8. Enrollment 8, Zuzar Bharmal. Okay. So now can we have the closing remarks?
Good morning all. Today in this lecture we have learned about the second portion of the technical writing, which is technical proposal, in which we have seen purpose of proposal, types of proposals, characteristics of proposals, and elements of proposals. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin, for your closing remarks. There's one thing more left. As I said, it's more about the practice and less about the theory. So the way I have uploaded a Google folder for technical description, by today evening you will see I will be uploading one more for technical proposal with one sample, and you are supposed to write a technical proposal. I'll be giving a few questions. You can have select from any one of the question which I give, or you are free to select any other proposal of your choice, right? That also you are supposed to submit by the 18th of July. It should not be hard. By the evening I'll be submitting a sample which you can follow. All right, so two things you are supposed to submit by the 18th: one, technical description; two, a technical proposal. Thank you, class. Have a nice day.